So, a lot of
In
wars
the
that
last
we have
30 to
seen
40 years,
somehow related, directly or indirectly with the what I call as the dollar of war, the United States dollar, which has this reserve currency status. So we all know that since the Bretton Woods Agreement, the United States dollar was imposed on the world as a reserve currency, the new reserve currency of the world, replacing the British pound. And since then, at least until 1971, that President Nixon unpacked it from gold standard. Until then, there was something finite, so to speak, as an underlying asset which was backing the value of the US dollar, wherein the people who had this trust and faith on what that currency represents. Until then, that was the case. But after 1971 and 1973, we all know how Henry Kissinger went on to the Gulf, and with the oil for security program, wherein the Gulf oil was to be sold only in the US dollar, the concept of petrodollar and fiat currency came into existence from that point in time. So last 30, 40 years, I mean, whatever that we are seeing brewing up in the world in terms of wars and conflicts have some direct or indirect connection with the US dollar, keeping the US dollar as the reserve currency of the world. Now, you need to understand what would be the benefit of keeping the US dollar as a reserve currency status in the world. So almost all the bilateral transactions between countries of the world and even the multilateral transactions with the international busy bodies happen in US dollar, which means that the US single-handedly gains this privilege of printing endless amount of US dollars or electronic entries, whatever that you call it, of the currency. And because of that endless printing, all the social benefits, the retirement benefits, or the freebies, or you call the income insecurity, right? All of these, even the COVID checks in the last 3 to 4 years that were distributed, all this is possible only because of this the reserve currency status which United States enjoys so much. So what has happened in the last this particular year specifically is that the Russia-Ukraine conflict, wherein the United States went ahead and sized the Russian reserves in the US dollar, and that is how we are moving towards a world which is of de-dollarization. That's the real de-dollarization which is happening now, wherein the countries of the world are saying that our reserves are no more safe. United States has this privilege of single-handedly, just hijacking the reserves that the countries have generated over the years of their hard work of exports and all. So now the countries are realizing one by one that this is a very risky financial process to have, be it the SWIFT payment system or this process of keeping just one reserve currency in the world. So that is where the world is heading towards, a de-dollarization process, wherein obviously there would be some kind of responses expected from the United States factions as well. I mean, well, I could see some particular factions aligned to this goal because of the massive US debts, which are now have become unsolvable. But there are still some factions who would like to cling on to the reserve currency status. So it looks like the US deep state has a vertical split in this sense, and that is going to play out. I mean, when we talk about the word deep state, we understand that when the baton of leadership got transferred to the other side of Atlantic from UK to the United States, it is very well understood that few aristocrat families attached to few corporate entities had accumulation of power in terms of decision making in the United States, and which is where the origins of this deep state is rooted in. So when I say that some factions of the United States deep state is aligned to the de-dollarization process, I mean, it's all in the public forum. You can easily check out articles and research papers written by some of the officials who are right now in the Biden administration, who have written articles on with the titles like "Dethrone the King Dollar." So this is not something which is new. I mean, many in the administration are of the view that the fiat currency formula, which worked for 40, 50 years is not going to be the way forward. And the simple reason for that is the fundamental assumption that the West will have this role of only financing uh, the real production and the physical assets which Asia and the Gulf produces and generates. I think that formulation itself was a very wrong formulation to begin economics with, which is why I believe some factions of the United States would agree on the de-dollarization process, because of the mountain of US debts that it has created in this journey of the last 40 to 50 years. It's totally unsolvable. I mean, every single problem that United States faced over the years, the only solution was go for the printing machine, just print more dollars. So I think the mountain is now so big that one faction of the United States deep state really believes that the fiat currency model there would be other faction which would be, resisting this change which is coming, because this change is not going to be something which is comfortable to the majority of Americans, because it basically translates into a downgrade in the lifestyle that they have lived over the years. If you debate with any Americans who have an idea of what the reserve currency status is, what the privileges are, and when you debate with them that this kind of a change is something that is coming, the debate almost boils down to, hey, we have so many aircraft carriers. I mean, finally we'll go for that. So, if that is the solution which they have faith in, then let's see what happens next year. I mean, if United States really wanted to war with nuclear powers like Russia or China, I don't think that is something which is feasible without a catastrophe of gigantic proportions. But in case if they are having a faith on some financial abracadabra or some gimmick, some financial gimmick, then that is very much possible, in the sense that you start something which is a fiat currency model. You can certainly repeg dollar with the gold reserves that you have, and United States still does have massive amount of gold reserves, so to repeg the dollar. So, but yes, in terms of the living standard, it will certainly go down from the current levels in terms of the freebies, the socialist freebies, the free market world is enjoying through this security or the entitlements or the 401k or the retirement benefits, right? So these are not this was possible because of the endless printing of dollar, which was possible because of the reserve currency status. Now it doesn't seem possible, because even if you go back to history, those countries which have attempted de-dollarization, we all know what happened with Saddam Hussein. We all know what happened with Gaddafi. They were trying to move out their trade from the US dollar denomination and invoicing, and the fate that they seen. So maybe the natives have this faith on the US military imposition, that they think that this time also we will sail through. But at this time it's very different. It's not the same thing. Now there are around 30 plus nations who are intent on de-dollarization. I don't think this is stoppable with even with a war. It doesn't look like it's stoppable.